Alright, welcome back to Star Ocean Anamnesis. So, the current boss for our current event is the Shrouded Gaze, and it's actually very similar to Millioneye's, but here is its moveset anyway. As its first attack, we have Boreal Burst. So, he fires 3 blue orbs into the air, and they actually have a homing effect to them, so they just home in on their target from the outside. This attack is actually very similar to the Scrambler Ball from the Crown Dodo, except it's a lot weaker because the homing effect is not as strong. So if you're standing underneath or like directly in front of the Shrouded Gaze, these balls should just go completely around you and hit the ground, and they will never hit you. And one more thing, if these balls hit you, they afflict you with the Frost status ailment, and that slows down your movement as well as your AP recovery speed, so make sure that you don't get hit by these. And up next we have Dry Eye, an attack that is ported straight from Millioneye. So he fires 3 lasers out in front of him, and these lasers are spread out. Really similar to Millioneye actually. So to dodge this, all you have to do is just stand directly underneath the Shrouded Gaze, and these lasers will never hit you. And if you're playing a long range character, try to dash backwards and get as far away from the boss as you can, and the laser should also never hit you. And then up next we have Escape Shot. This attack is very similar to Boreal Burst, except it's a lot more difficult to dodge. So he drops down to the ground, and then he launches 2 fireballs straight into the air, and they also have a homing effect, so they just home in on you. These fireballs move a little faster than the Boreal Burst ones, and he usually only uses this attack when you're standing at long range, which makes it a lot more difficult to dodge. So what I recommend is just dashing forward straight into the fireballs, and you should be able to explode them without taking damage. And then up next we have Evil Eye, a very useless attack, I guess. It doesn't do a lot of damage. So he stands still, and then he just spews out a bunch of tears directly in front of him. You can very easily dodge this by dashing backwards, and it should never hit you, but if you do get hit by it, it has the potential to stun lock you because it does hit many times, so make sure that you bring at least some kind of anti-flinch. And then up next we have the Eye of the Beholder. So it's very similar to Dry Eye. He creates 3 lasers in front of him, and then he dashes forwards with these lasers still out. Because these lasers are a lot closer together, it's easier to dodge them by dashing to the side than it would be if he were using Dry Eye, but you can dodge this in the exact same way as you dodge Dry Eye by standing directly underneath the Shrouded Gaze. And for long range characters, like I said, try dashing to the side and you should be able to avoid it. And then up next we have Ice Line, and this attack is actually unique to him. So he moves backwards, and then he creates these deep freezes in a straight line directly in front of him. I think the maximum amount of deep freezes he can create is 3, but regardless, they are still deep freezes, so you can dodge these by dashing in any direction, or well, in this case, dash to the side to avoid them. And unlike normal deep freeze attacks, this one doesn't spawn directly on top of you, so it's very easy to avoid. And then up next we have Ready to Rumble, which again, that's another one of Millioneye's attacks. So he drops down to the ground, and then he starts doing a spinning attack. It can hit multiple times, so if you don't have anti-flinch, you should be careful of this one. But all you need to do to dodge it is just dash backwards, and that should give you enough space to avoid it. Dash backwards twice, just in case. And then we have White Barrage, which is very similar to an attack that the Eternal Queen used, if I recall correctly, but I don't really remember. So he moves backwards to the edge of the arena, and then he starts casting Symbology, and then he creates this ice ball in front of him that just shoots out a bunch of icicles in 180 degrees in front of him with a sweeping motion. This is actually one of his more difficult attacks to avoid. For close range characters it's not that difficult because they can just stand directly underneath Shrouded Gaze and this should never hit them. For long-range characters, they actually have to move in between the icicles, and, you know, usually you mess that up. Well, sometimes you mess it up. So just try to dash in between the icicles, and you should be able to avoid it. And now for his Enrage attack, it's Grand Finale, big surprise. So, it's the exact same thing that Millioneye has. He, jumps up into the air, and then he drops down a bunch of icicles, well, 4 icicles, in a plus pattern onto the arena, and these icicles erupt into deep freezes, and of course they have the ability to one-shot you. But then after these deep freezes have exploded, 4 more land in the spots that the previous deep freezes didn't cover, and then again these icicles explode into deep freezes. And the way to dodge this is the exact same as with the other Grand Finale. So for the first wave, you just try to stand in the spots where there are no icicles, and then after those deep freezes are gone, dash into the side of the arena, so that hopefully you've still got invincibility by the time that the second wave of icicles lands, and then keep dashing into the edge of the arena and try to time your dashes so that you are still invincible when the extra hits of the deep freezes strike, and then hopefully by the time that deep freezes are gone, you are still alive. And one more thing, after this attack he goes into enrage mode, and certain attacks get a little upgrade, like his white barrage. Close range characters can no longer stand underneath him because he actually creates a deep freeze directly underneath him, so yeah, he becomes pretty deadly. This thing is just a Millioneye copy as far as I can tell, but I think I'm not sure which one is stronger. I think Millioneye might be more dangerous to close-range characters, whereas they've designed this one to be stronger against long-range characters. At least that's the feel I'm getting from all of those homing attacks, whereas Millioneye has that one ancient drop attack. I don't remember what it's called, but the one where he drops those anvils on top of you or something like that. Well, regardless, I'd love to see how strong this thing is going to be in Misery 3, because we never got a Millioneye Misery 3, and Millioneye was pretty strong even when he re-ran, so I'm pretty excited for this one. I hope you guys are too, and I guess I will see you next time. Peace!